Hi everyone. It is really a pleasure to always spend time with you. Luckily, I'm able to get some of these videos out here. I'm going to be in Indiana here, Shipshewana, Indiana. I speak this coming Friday, I think it is, but I'll be there Saturday too. Finally get to see my old friends again. So maybe I'll see some of you up there. It's near the Windy City. And Jermaine was just in, and thanks for all your comments. You all make me want to cry. Marco, all of you guys, Katie, Kaylin, all you lovely people. Amy, I'm glad you got your video for your mom. Real important to deal with strokes now. And always remember causative factors. That's why I try to get these up as soon as I can. When you have a case like that, Amy, or anybody else, you try to get in here and talk to someone and get these people going, because I don't like things like strokes and heart attacks for obvious reasons. So all of you, I just to mention all of your names, I love you all. Lisa, Sophie, James, Jacques, Portuguese. Thank you guys so much for your love. And some good comments here. Let me see here. Katie, your comment was heartfelt for sure. Kaylin, I tell you what, I'm a firm believer of the sun. I'm an outdoors kind of guy anyway. I just don't live indoors, so I love sun. I probably get more outdoor sun than maybe you should. I don't know, when I can. At least when you have cases, get them out on the porch so they get some indirect sunlighting. And we were talking about that in a few videos ago, the importance of full spectrum lighting running through these eyes. I had a friend that was an engineer, and we developed a color therapy machine, and we used a crystal and a light source so we could get that crystal, we could adjust that to colors. And I started the Institute for Iridology and Color Therapy, and I started that way back in 1974. And I was really going to take off because I've always been interested in frequencies and magnetics and things like this, and colors and the healing factors of these colors. Then I realized, everything must be holistic. Everything must synergistically be bound and bonded and work together, because there's just no way that the Homo sapien level can isolate without repercussions. We see that in chemistry, we see that in magnetics. So there's a learning curve here for the Homo sapien mind to develop spiritually. And that spiritual development starts to see you as one. The mind sees in separations. It adds 1 and 1 equals whatever. And so that's the mind. It can't see in totalities because it isn't that ability. It's a machine like your body is, like this body is. But the mind is a body in of itself. Much different than this human body, no question. Those that have been in the mental body, it's a trip. And when you get out of the causal world, where someone asked me about karma, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but outside of the worlds where karma originates in creation, or duality, or the perceived duality, I should say, you have pure mind. And Holmes wrote a lot of volumes about the mind. Metaphysics writes a lot about the mind. And you have to be careful, because in the higher levels of the mind, it's very similar to consciousness and the now and things like that. Very similar. Matter of fact, the word used for the experience in the pure mental worlds, the pure, what they call universal mind. In other words, each of us have a piece of that mind from the universal mind. And that's why you and I can think of the same thing at the same time. It's just universally. I can think of the same thing that you guys in New Zealand, you guys in Switzerland, wherever you are, can think the same thought, because we're all tied to this one huge universal mind region. We call that region cosmic consciousness. Hindus have the bliss plane, and there's all kinds of names out there that have talked about that level. But that level can also be a big trap. When you get outside of that, the oneness of all life is perceived. It's actually perceived at that level, but the id is still with you. The separation of the self from the someone else or something else. The soul, what they call the soul plane, that's where pure consciousness exists. That dark matter we were talking about in the last video, the origination of consciousness or energy or magnetics or whatever you wish to dub that. There is no separation anymore. There is no you and I as separate entities from the same source. We become the source. So it's interesting to go that way. So thank you so much for all these questions and stuff. The sunshine, get the sun. Remember, the sun is acidic though. And remember, acids are also important at different levels. The sun is an important acid in that it's full spectrum. Healing in some levels, can rip in others. That's why it's balanced with all the cool rays as well. So real important to understand that holistic means total, whole, not isolates. And it makes a huge difference in its effect, too, upon you. With that said, an acid body and an acid sun, they don't mix well. So you see melanomas, you see skin cancers, basals, etc. all the time when people get in the sun. I've been lucky because I get sun a lot. But I keep my body as alkaline as I can. Could always be more alkaline. Not to say that alkaline is the side. There's the balance of base or alkaline and acids. So more balance maybe. And we all probably could use that at any given level there. So thanks for that. Amy, I hope your mom is doing well, dear. Because you can definitely help her. Sounds like she's going to be okay for you. Rich, maybe I'll see you over at Chips and One, Indiana. Sophie made her first tincture. Isn't that fun? You know, it's fun. The tools to play that make you feel good. And that's the thing. It's a new world, it's an opening up a new curtain to a new life. And that's what's exciting about this. So thank you, and James. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Nothing but a hound dog. Thanks, Michelle. You know, I had my sister's ex-husband, well, not ex-husband, he killed himself, but he was the only Elvis impersonator that Elvis took time to go see. And, of course, our whole family's into music, and we love all the musicians out there. And Peter, you're still right. Watch those horns, Peter. So thanks, Facebook. You guys are just beautiful, beautiful souls. Part of the team, part of the effort we have in awakening this rock spinning through space at this level. But like ripples in the ocean or in the lake, this ripples out through all creation. What you do here, guys, affects all life at every level. You cannot swim in the ocean without affecting all of life in some manner. And so you guys are doing exceptionally good work. And we had to laugh at that picture of like Peking duck. What was that Peking duck picture? Believe it or not, I was in Portugal with Dr. Jensen one time. I wanted to take him over there because everybody kept bugging me. Get Dr. Jensen over here so we could see him because they loved him over there. So I convinced the old guy to come with me. And the only place you could really get anything vegetable really was Chinese. And so we went to a Chinese restaurant and I was shocked that he got lamb and Peking duck. Ugh. Anyway, let me see here. This is about a thyroid glandular. Hello, Dr. Morse. I was wondering, do you have a recommendation for a thyroid glandular brand? I don't see any on your product list. Well, call in. They're supposed to put them back up there. Call in and they'll turn you on to those sort of things there. With the thyroid glandulars, just be cautious. You know, glandulars are strong. And we talked about them in reference to this Sloan guy and his thought on that. And I've just never seen that. But with that said, I've oft said this, use these glandulars as a temporary bump to the respective endocrine glands, because in chronic levels, they do good. We've witnessed this. All our staff has witnessed this. And then work to maintain the health or get the health of these tissues by what's bringing them down. So when you look at cells, they're either brought down by their genetic memories that are developing through what? Through their day-to-day living. Our memories, think about cells' memories are no different than yours. You get your memories through your day-to-day experiences. So do cells. So when you have high magnetic energy, that means you have high consciousness going into that cell. You have higher intelligence. And it's hard for people to understand that food is intelligent. I was at Rush Limbaugh one time, had a little segment on his show, and I was building a house at the time, and one of the workers had him on. And he said, does chickens have consciousness? And the end result of this rambling on was that chickens doesn't have any consciousness. They're here for us to eat. And I thought that was an appropriate statement by Rush Limbaugh, you know. But that's the sort of thing people think. And we're into consciousness. We're into what is behind those eyes of that chicken. What's behind those eyes of your little cute dog or kitty cat? You know, God. And that's the thing. So, you know, man has a lot of growth to do spiritually. And you guys are at the top of the class. You guys are doing incredibly well. I love each and every one of you. You guys are really growing well. Be careful with the glandulars, particularly thyroids. I would say stay 150 milligrams or lower and do it maybe twice a day to start. Always get used to muscle testing yourself. We're going to put another muscle test video up just to show you. But get used to muscle testing everything that you do. That way you'll know, you know, whether that's good for you or not. This is a good one, I thought. Eyes to see beyond. I like your protocol there. For those of us who can barely afford an organic anything. All right, so let's stop right there. And don't get mad at me, guys, but, you know, we live in a world where you can't always get organic, and in some places, and particularly around here, organic is very expensive and moldy. In other words, we don't get good. We had a co-op once for our clients locally, and the stuff came out of the Carolinas, and it was always, the grapes were always moldy, always problem. And so some of the California bases were really good, but some of them closed up or were closed up by the FDA, probably for the raw milk thing, I don't know. But I know this, we got to be prepared for the battle. Anyway, don't buy organic, but try to buy people that locally grow. Try to go to the local farmers. Try to find organic farmers. Try to pick fruit ripe from trees, berries and things. Do your very best. Outside of that, start getting used to what is ripe in your grocery stores and what's not. I would say unless you can get a pineapple off a plant, you know, you're into a very acid fruit. You remember a lot of fruits you guys are used to eating taste totally different ripe off of a plant or tree. And that's the thing. When you get these fruits and berries that are ripe, oh my God, they're so good. So you do your best. I say use Veggie Wash on everything no matter what. If you can't afford Veggie Wash, get some hydrogen peroxide and lemon juice and maybe a pinch of salt. And wash everything, you know. Pesticides are oil soluble, so you can't wash them with water. Water doesn't affect oils. So that's, you know, you could use some type of phosphate maybe, strip them off. But listen, man, I understand that the world is hurting there. Hopefully, again, as we grow, we'll be able to have more available to you. If you have a hard time with money, go to the teas. There's always someone back there willing to give you a tea or sell you a tea cheaper, but there's always the teas. Get the bulk herbs and make your teas out of them and go that way. Yaz over in Thailand, he's making some kick butt formulas. He's really taking some herbs. This guy's out there now. Cool stuff. And so really curing himself at a a fast pace. So just incredible. But you would if you live in Thailand and you dedicate yourself to raw fruits and you're making your own herbal things. I mean, this is all good. So you do the very best you can, because we have, if you look at our price structures, we're one of the few that have the holdout before we have to raise our prices. If you look back historically, we've always been the low man. We've always held tight until everything budges us so much and then the checkbook's going, uh-oh, better go up just a little bit. So we've always tried to be that way, because I don't want bad karma, if you know what I mean. So it's not my nature anyway. My nature is a healer and to give love and God, not to rip. That's bad karma. So do your very best, but you can always do the diet. And the diet is key. And you can use diet kind of like you use herbs. The fruits and the berries going to dig you deeper, and the vegetables going to pull you back. But still, eating a raw, high vegetable diet with some fruits, a lot better than a standard world diet. Standard American diet with all the crap. So every step you take toward more raw gets you better. And if you can go all raw, you have no money, go all raw. And then go all fruits for a while. Detox deeper, and use the foods to work yourself through this. The herbs, though, they're the butt kicker. So whenever you can afford them, enjoy them. Make your own tinctures, like Sophie, and you play with these things. Open a new door to your world and let the sun shine in, baby, and you glow. I mean, Jermaine this morning was glowing like a friggin' Christmas tree on the 4th of July. I mean, her health and thing is she's radiating, and that's the thing. The healthier you get, the more you radiate beauty and love, and your skin looks good, and everything becomes good. That realize the simplicity of how you take good to the other side. And it doesn't take that mind who is lost in cages and cages of thoughts and theories and things like this. Don't need to live in those worlds anymore. Man must pull back and simplify. That way we can take the best of what we learn mentally and apply them with spiritual principles. That will give us a unity on this planet that the World Bank can never achieve. They don't get it. You can't unify the world through money. You'll have wars forever, and war against you, the World Bank, the way you use your tactics. And it's coming. That's bad karma. You can't rip people off like that. You use love. You use honesty and integrity, and you still can create that, but in a much higher level. And that's the problem. This level is full of greed. It's full of all of that. Selfishness and everything else. So we have to change all that and bring this, because we wanted a better stay. It's like if you create a inn for people to stay at, or you create a breakfast pub or whatever. You want to make it nice for your visitors to come in. You want to serve them good food and take care of them. And that's what we want to do for the planet. Your karma's karma. You're going to have negative things always existing in these lower levels, and I mean real extreme negative things. But we also want to bring in that balance and give the higher aspects of that. You'll never get rid of the negative here. That would be impossible, or this world wouldn't exist anymore. Duality is essential. And taking this back to this question, I was hoping you could talk a little about karma. That's exactly where that leads to, is that duality is simply karma. Duality means for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. That's physics. And we know that because we've observed that in activity. The Bible reaches out and says you reap what you sow. And so it simply means that everything you do has a reaction to it. Every time you walk, you're walking through chemistry and magnetics and consciousness. So everything you do, no matter what it is. And to give you a classic example of how karma works in some ways. My sister had her son was into baseball. And I think I've talked about this before, but it's been a long time ago. But she had just bought a new car, and she pulled up to this baseball field where her son was playing baseball, and she had her her other kids, and they were watching, and this lady pulled up beside her in this old kind of junky car, because we live back in the mountains, or kind of the hills of Indiana. So when someone says, honey boo boo, or someone says, I live in the backwoods, my question is, how far back do you live? Because there's levels. There's honey boo boo, but then there's other levels that go even further back. So, it's just the way life is. And so this lady just swung her car door wide open right on my sister's new car. So I said, did you get out and talk to her about that? Educate her to that? She said, nope, I didn't. And my sister's a little shy like that. So she's sitting there watching the game, and she's kind of fretting over, I got probably a door ding on my new car and all this. And it wasn't 20 minutes later, some kid hit a homer. Ha! He hit a home run, and that ball came over the fence and landed right on the front hood of this lady's car. And my sister just said, your image came to me and said, that's what karma is. And she said, I knew from right on what karma was. And it's a good lesson. My guess is the lady did not relate it. And that's the problem, is educating people to what karma is. And you'll watch this, drive down the road and watch somebody pull out in front of somebody. It won't be long and somebody else will pull out in front of them. And it's an ongoing chain of action-reaction. And it's just, you can't get away from this. It isn't a Hindu thing. It isn't a Christian thing. It isn't a physics thing. It's how the worlds work. You have to have duality when you have the one. If you're the one and the only one, how are you going to have fun and play if there's only one? You have to make two. And how do you make two? You have to play the game of illusion that there are two. Anybody ever played as kids and played like you had little friends and stuff? Well, God does it upright, because he creates worlds upon worlds, worlds upon worlds upon worlds of activity, of individualities, whether it's a Homo sapien or whether it's the porpoise or whether it's a few, what do we call them, the lizard people? Or whoever, it doesn't matter. There's so many beings out there, the names you couldn't even begin to think of them. So there's so much out there, and you have to open to that. And that's what we needed to do. Religions have kind of sheltered the Homo sapien a little bit. We must break through that. And the priests and preachers, like the one priest that stopped by the lady that had the car accident, that was a good priest. That priest knew his godliness and gave her succor. That's what it's about. I thought it was a good guy. He sounded a little Irish, which I'm going to be over to you guys in Ireland. I want to see Maggie. I haven't seen her in a long time. So this is the kind of thing that karma is. Don't be afraid of certain words if they're Eastern or what, because Jesus said the same thing. It's just easier to say karma than you reap what you sow. But some people don't know what karma means. It's one word that means all of that and the consequences thereof, except this is far-reaching. It is taught by the masters, of course, that we are working off so much karma that we don't naturally see that. I think what you're seeing, though, in today's world is quicker karma back. You're seeing it quicker and faster. And when that starts to happen more, it'll start to register. But there's so much of the past life karma and all this that people are working through that this day-to-day karma, sometimes you miss that completely. It's just important to learn that when you create something, you have to pay for it. You are responsible for that. There's no free rides here. So everything you create, you have to pay for in some way or another. And a lot of you've learned that, and you cease to create those things you want to make sure you want to be able to pay that price. But that's also the secret of how you get out of here. All right? That's a secret. Instead of creating material things and material desires, absorb into God. And if you don't know what that essence is, don't worry about it, because you're the representative. It's through you that you find the all in the all. And you don't have to go far. You don't have to go far. Just go within a little bit. Do some contemplations and see who walks in. So, Chad, I hope that was enough for you there. I don't want to get too on that because I've been, beat up a little bit for talking too much like that. Here's another bad seborrheic dermatitis scalp. And this is something, and as you guys know by now, when you have any type of, from dandruff to eczema to dermatitis, I don't care, to psoriasis, I don't care what name you give it, these are all different levels of the same stuff. You want to get this out of here, because especially when it's on the scalp. Why? Because these are acids. That's why it's breaking down your skin, the organ. Remember, your skin is your largest human organ, your largest kidney. And so it's an eliminative organ. It also takes things in, but it's also about elimination. And you see, this is all about elimination, and it's burning you, but it can burn your brain the same way, and it can create cholesterol plaquing in the brain because of the nature of acids and the inability of filtration, because obviously you're not filtering well from the kidneys or you wouldn't have this. So you want to get to this big time. And now get this, guys. He was told it was glands in my scalp producing too many cells, oh God, which build up to crust, which I remove every other day with coal tar shampoo. Oh man, do you think it's just acid and can be eliminated through iFruit? Absolutely, man. I mean, we get this all the time. We had one lady started the detox, and she broke out with an ulcerated look like that. And her dermatologist said, I don't know what that is, but there's some rare Brazilian amoeba or something like that, you know. I was thinking about that young man with the amoeba. You know, that's where the herbs excel. Remember, nature gives and nature takes back. So the herbs would work far better than what this poor young man with the amoeba in the brain is being given right now. So that's the thing. That's the sad thing, is that let them do their thing, but they should be using high herbal parasitics, and that would take care of the problem. But they don't know how to do that. And that's the unfortunate part about what this lad is going through right now. Yeah, you want to get this. See, this is James. James, you really want to get your lymph system moving, man. So down that back, use those neurolymphatic points. Try to get that drainage. Get on your kidney formulas, your lymphatic formulas. Clean up your bowels. Get in there and clean up this whole GI tract. Clean your liver out while you're doing it. Even though people think that's a detoxifying organ, don't insult the liver. The liver's a major chemical processing factory. Incredible, incredible, incredible. But clean it out anyway. Clean the spleen. The spleen is how the blood cleans itself. But get your kidneys filtering. Remember, Jermaine, fill the boot. And that's important. I just love this because this shows you exactly what we're after. And if you need to, get on the Facebook. A lot of great healing people on there help you through this. But you got to do some hot and cold applications to the head. And when you're in your shower, hot and cold. But get those kidneys filtering and get this lymph nodes opened up and drained before you go, honey, where'd I park the car? Because that's just what this kind of problem leads to. So real serious. Oh man, I can't even pronounce that. Grisoterian. Something, holy man. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, my friend. Appreciate the comment here. Oh man, thanks a lot. Peace and blessings to you too, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, someone sent me this picture. I hope you don't mind me showing this on YouTube, but they printed it so small I can't even read it with readers on. But he's got some redness here on the tongue. Now, you're going to see things like this express itself. I would do this. I would make that Heal All tea on the light side, and I would do some gargling and while I'm watching TV or something. Another one, and hold it and let that do some drawing and some absorption into those tissues of the tongue and stuff. But remember, that tongue is an extension of the gut. It's the other end. And so it's all the GI tract. So clean your GI tract out, get your kidneys filtering, and go after what you're seeing, because see all that redness, you got inflammation there. Who knows, you could have some activity going in there parasitically, but you know what, that's all just because of the acid. So get that lymph system moving, clean up your GI tract. and that'll come off of that tongue. But I would do some hill all tea. Don't make it too strong because it can, it's strong. And wash that mouth out and hold it in your mouth for a few minutes at a time or a minute at a time, and then spit it out and take another sip and do it that way. Use the herbs for your healings. They're just so incredible. I can't even, most of you guys that have been on them know exactly what I'm talking about. And you see the difference when you're off of them. They're like our little sweethearts. They're here. Remember, every herb was put here to help you. These are here. That's their karma. Why were they here? To help. Exactly. But man fears his own shadow. Sad stuff. Oh, Earth Keeper. I like that. I knew the keeper of the waters. Love you, Rick. Oh, thanks, man. I was wondering what you think about two things. Moringa and Manuka honey. I used to sell Manuka honey, I think, in my health food stores years ago. Moringa fruit, I've often thought that was pretty good for you. If we're talking about the same thing, you're talking about a fruit, right? And that was pretty good. The honey, I love honey. Well, I'll say this, I don't love it now. I used to love it. But, there's a point where you burn out on things. And I'm one of those guys that years and years ago, honey got on everything, and I burn out on honey. I still can eat it, but I don't do it much because I just, I did too much in the earlier years. I just did too much of these sort of things, and now I'm having a hard time having too much honey. Yeah, this young man, I have done several liver flushes and removed hundreds of stones, literally, but now feel my kidneys are suffering. Please tell me how to clean them up. Well, the same way, my friend, that you would your liver stones, because as long as your fluids are acidic, you'll continue to form stones. And that's the same thing in the kidneys. When the kidneys get too acidic and stop filtering, or too acidic in the interstitially, you'll start seeing calcium bonding with several things, particularly the oxalates, and so there's all that confusion of oxalates because, vegetables are full of oxalates. But you know what? It's the binding of chemistry through heat or acids that is the problem. Chemistry doesn't bind like that in base atmospheres. But when you have acidic atmospheres or acidic terrains, then you're going to see chemistry change its nature and the way it bonds and the way ionization takes place and the way these things, the way cell metabolism, the way cell absorption through the cell wall takes place. Even though it's a sodium-potassium issue, there's a lot more to it than that. So the proper pHs, and the problem is, who determines the proper pH? You can't. You can't, because you can't check urine and saliva and go, my pH. No, you can check your mouth and say my saliva pH is, but it needs to be alkaline. Check the urine, you need to be slightly acidic. And some of you, when you go on raw, your urine gets alkaline. And that's the first telltale sign that you're losing electrolytes in the process of hydration. But we talked about that before, that alkalizing of the urine is a good healer for the kidneys. So I don't know if there's a mind out there that could begin to put all this together like the Supreme One, or the Creator, we'll say. It's just amazing, and we just don't even know anything of that. And for us to sit here, for me anyway, to sit there and think I know anything in the context of the whole, forgive me, I'm trying to understand it. So, you want to use fruits, berries, and melons for your kidneys always, because those are the best foods for kidney cleansing. The other side of this is use the herbs or use the kidney formulas. We use the kidney formulas, but remember what's on top of them. The adrenal glands. Always address your kidneys and adrenal glands together. They're man and wife, brother and sister, however you wish to look at that. They're hooked together, they depend upon each other, and so much more. They are responsible responsible for the gigantic sewer system, a lot of metabolism of chemistry, steroid side, the sugars. I mean, this just keeps on going. Marcy and I are going to do one on diabetes for you, and we're going to explain a little more about that and that relationship of the adrenals to even type 1. So anyway, go after that, my friend, and you'll be good. Get those kidneys filtering. Remember, see the sewage in the urine and go that way, because once that happens, you'll pull the bowels clean, you'll pull the liver clean, you'll pull the pancreas clean, you'll start pulling everything clean. And then you'll return that acid-base balance interstitially. That means around the cells. You'll return that, and that way the lymph will move more freely. Remember, that's called cationic. So as you get this cationic atmosphere, which is a base chemistry experience, then you'll start to see your fluids moving better. Inflammation will back away because there's no reason. Acids are being removed. Cholesterol comes out. The acid fighters. Calcium will dissolve. Calcifications will dissolve. Go back into bone matrix or connective tissue or be excreted. Everything starts to go back to its home again. It's that simple. And so the medical community has made there is a good example of mind out of control, where there's no spirituality or common sense. Not to say the medical doctors aren't spiritual, because I know a lot of spiritual medical doctors. I know out-of-body travelers that are medical doctors, so I'm not downing them in that way. But in the academics of that, academics of naturopathy also brings in spirituality to a certain degree. And our sciences should be based from spirituality first. And even if it's from a total lack of understanding anything, the problem the mind analyzes. Remember, the theory several years ago was the earth is flat. And people bought that theory. And we have same theories in biochemistry. Look at the theory of microbes and pathogens, and what that one theory from Jenner Pasteur has done to the human race. Talk about bad karma, and that's the thing you have to be careful with. And I will say this, though, and this is going to freak you out maybe, but at one level there is no such thing as karma. So, we shall talk about that later. All right, I only have 5 more minutes. Darn. Sandra, pretty woman you are. I asked about testosterone gel. Yep. Yeah, you answered it today. Thanks. I'm trying to get to these quicker. Sorry. I listen to your videos all day. Oh, thanks. Love your approach. I was raised by an MD. Ooh, your mom. Oh, your mom was an MD. That's pretty wild. She was honest. Yeah, there's some good MDs. Don't get me wrong. There's some good naturopaths. But we all need to start expanding more, because your therapy should never hurt anybody. And like I said, it's not ability, but it's spelled like ability, but they call it ability. What is it they call it? I can't remember how they call it. 6 weeks test. It's already killed a bunch of people. So the first thing off the plate, and I just listened to it again last night on TV, and they just kept going through the side effects and the 6-week study, and I'm going, my God, has the FDA got blinders on? I feel sorry for what's going on there. Yeah, I'm almost ready there. Because, I'll be right there. Because you got a lot of drugs on the market that kill people. I mean, this is insanity. Have we lost and this is to the FDA, have you lost your sense of godliness? Any one of you guys that would sit and allow that, thinking this is good for humanity, for what reason? I mean, this is insane to allow these things on the market. I talk about bad karma. You guys are creating things you really don't want to create, because guess who pays for them? Well, people are paying for them, but guess where it comes back to? The people that put it out there. So, this is the problem. The other side of this is this planet is another place for those souls come back and re-experience their karma. So where an FDA guy would allow this on the market, he's going to come back as a soul in another body and be using it on himself. That's how karma works, and probably kill him. And that's the kind of karma that is. And that's what we're trying to get to governments and everybody else. It all comes back to you. Not to everybody else. You're hurting everybody else, but all that comes back on you. That's why I say, when at one level where karma exists, tread lightly and make sure you want to reap what you're sowing. Not good. So thanks, Sandra. But I know what she didn't know. Exactly. And that's all it is that your mom is probably a great being who was just taught things, using the mind, taught things, and she just, thought that was the way it is. And that's part of the cycle of life here, obviously, in the growth thing. So we welcome most medical doctors that come aboard, that's for sure. And all of us work together, because I've always said it'd be nice to have the emergency rooms on our side, understanding we're trying to get these people well where no one else can, and we might need a little help from the ER once in a while. Okay, work with us. Don't kill our clients, work with us. Another client went in the other day. She'd been battling stage 4 cancer for 3 or 4 years with us. Done well, helped herself alive. She's looking good. She's doing well. She had a little obstruction. They put her on high antibiotics and morphine, killed her right off. That's like, I don't even know what to say about that. It's hard not to be pulled into the anger side of that. It's hard not to, especially when you're working on the beautiful people with families, and then they just indiscriminately antibiotics, and bam! I don't have nothing good to say about doctors like that. Sorry, can't help it. You've just seen too many people die at the hands of ignorance, and we got to grow. I had my kids at home. Oh, this lady looks good. But I've been vegetarian in my early 20s, but mom influence. There's a lot of souls like Sandra that are advanced souls that came into this planet that knew meat eating wasn't the way to go, but the family forced them into it. Sandra, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, honey, and you're one of those advanced souls that come in here and just forced to go that way. But you know what? You're doing good. I read Essene Gospel of Peace. Remember that? 3 years ago. The Essene Gospel of Peace is, from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and I read that in the 70s, and it was just, you show about how far back raw foods were talked about, and raw food communities existed back in the Essene times. So when you study the Essenes and the agnostics and all that, boy, you get a whole different picture on Christianity and what some of us have been lied to, because I was raised Christian. Fasted a week on grapefruit, hot water, cayenne, had a great vision. Oh my God, you look like a vision woman anyway. Released anxiety big time, really raw now. You're kicking butt. Kicking butt, dear. I gotta go, and I got more questions. Well, you know what? I'll get to them as soon as I can. Although I probably won't be able to get to videos for a couple of weeks. I might run in Friday and try to catch up. Going to Shipshawana. Love you guys. Thank you so much for bearing all these videos like this. I'm sorry that there's so many of them, but there's so much to talk about, and there's so much fun, and you guys are doing so well. Some of you are really battling it. Hang in there. You got all of us on your side. Understand that getting well is a process. It isn't a pill. Love you. Take care, and thank you so much for your loving comments. You make me cry too much.